Bears are a very unique animal. We have this idea of what a bear is.
Yes.
Teddy bears and Yogi and fucking Coca-Cola commercials. Now this is where it gets really fucked up. And, they're cannibals. 100% of them are cannibals.
Yeah.
One of the bears kill and start consuming a cub.
Oh, yeah.
The female scared the bear off and then ate her own kid.
Yeah. I mean, he's watched them rip cubs and rip them in half and eat them and spit them out.
Yeah.
And once you've seen that, you're no matter how many bear cartoons we show, no matter how many times a bear has suspenders on and is talking to us, it doesn't change. No matter how many times we name a bear, it doesn't change the bareness of the animal. It doesn't change its prime.
It's a different animal. It's a different kind of animal.
The early American frontier was not a place for a weak man, but honored the men who took the time to learn the land. From snakes to grizzly bears, all of nature was ravenous for survival and blood. Some of the tales told from the frontier have become American legend, and some names have been passed between brethren as called heroes.
Even a rescue bear can never be fully trusted.
A bear like this starts to come towards you. Don't try and run for it. You'll never outrun it.
But one man from the frontier has stood out amongst time and created a sense of folklore upon himself as a unique entertainer and woodsman.
It's a bear coming.
Marion, if you play dead, they'll see you as dead meat.
This is a story of a true wilderness survivor so rough and daring they gave him the name Grizzly. This is the story of John Grizzly Adams. John Grizzly Adams was a professional hunter of grizzly bears who became well known after his involvement in P.T. Barnum's Circus. John Boyden Adams was born in Medway, Massachusetts, to Eleazer and Sybil Adams on October 12, 1812. He is said to have been related to the famous Adams of Massachusetts, including President John Adams and patriot Samuel Adams. He received what is considered a good education for the times. However, by the time he was 14 years old, he was working as an apprentice in the footwear manufacturing industry. When he was 21, he left that position and became a hunter in New England's forests. After signing on with a company of showmen as a zoological collector, John hunted and captured live wild animals in Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire, honing his skills as a woodsman and marksman. While attempting to train a Bengal tiger for his employers, he received severe back and spine injuries, ending his hunting career. After recuperating for about a year, he returned to the cobbler's bench in Boston, Massachusetts. In 1836, John married Selina Drury, and the couple would eventually have 3 children. During the California Gold Rush, Adams and the thousands of others made their way west. He arrived at the California gold fields in late 1849. When he had failed to find his fortune in gold, he turned to hunting game to sell to the miners, trading, ranching, and farming. In late 1852, he lost his ranch near French Camp, California, to creditors and headed into the Sierra Nevada mountains to earn his living by trapping. Around this time, he was calling himself James Capon Adams. With the help of local Miwok Indians, Adams built a cabin and stable a few miles away from present-day Pinecrest, California. In addition to trapping and hunting, he made buckskin clothing, moccasins, harnesses, pack saddles, and snowshoes. By this time, he was 40 years old and was described as already having long gray hair, a snowy white beard, was of average height but muscular and wiry. and wearing full-dress buckskins. From the Sierra Mountains, Adams made several excursions away from his camp. In 1853, he traveled to Washington Territory, where he caught a female grizzly bear cub, about a year old. Naming her Lady Washington, he was able to train her to follow him, carry a pack, pull a sled, and eventually she even allowed John to ride on her back. In 1854, he and several hunting companions traveled to the Rocky Mountains as far as Fort Bridger, Wyoming. They sold meat, hides, and some live animals to emigrants along the Oregon Trail. At the end of the same year, he trapped a 1,500-pound grizzly bear in the Sierra, one of the largest grizzlies ever captured alive. He named the beast Samson. He also retrieved a pair of 2-week-old male grizzly bear cubs from their mother's den near Yosemite Valley, naming one of them Benjamin Franklin. In the spring of 1855, while on a hunting trip in the Sierras, the bear cub Benjamin Franklin would save John's life when a mother grizzly bear attacked Adams. The she-bear knocked his rifle from his hands, tore his scalp loose, dented his skull in one powerful swipe, and bit into his neck. Then Benjamin Franklin Adams' tame grizzly bear distracted the she-bear with a bite of her own haunch, and Adams climbed a tree. He was soon able to retrieve his rifle and killed the bear. Adams then returned to his camp, where it took him almost a month to recover. John and his bear Ben would both bear the scars of that attack for the rest of their lives. After Adams recovered, he and his companions trapped and hunted along the California Coast Range, journeying as far south as the Tejon Pass area. On their way back, they followed the coastal route through San Miguel, San Jose, and then to San Francisco, where they attracted audiences of curious onlookers. Due to their interest, Adams set up several impromptu shows of bear shows and other animals that he had collected along his trip. In 1856, John retrieved all of his animals from Howard Ranch near Stockton, California, where he had left them to be cared for a while he was absent. He then opened the Mountaineer Museum in a basement on Clay Street in San Francisco, charging 25 cents admission. He was noticed here by a newspaper reporter named Theodore H. Hiddle, who promoted the Daily Menagerie in articles he wrote for the Daily Evening Bulletin. With the articles and advertising, the museum became so successful that Adams opened the Pacific Museum, a larger site, at a better location. By 1858, Adams was revered as the Barnum of the Pacific in a San Francisco newspaper. However, by the following year, he had once again overextended himself and lost his museum building to creditors, temporarily relocating his animals to another building. His health was deteriorating, primarily from the head and neck attack he had received from the she-bear in California. While wrestling with and training his animals, the wound had been reopened and re-injured several times. The last time he was injured in 1859, the skull was cracked and the bone was torn away, exposing the brain tissue and a silver dollar-sized area on his forehead. He arranged to relocate his menagerie and collections to New York, hoping to join P.T. Barnum's show. On July 7, 1860, Adams and his menagerie departed from San Francisco on the clipper ship Golden Fleece, and after a 3.5-month voyage via Cape Horn, arriving in New York City. Though his health was much worse when he arrived, he immediately sought out P.T. Barnum, who quickly saw the potential of using Adams' California menagerie. He joined with P.T. Barnum to perform the California menagerie in a canvas tent for 6 weeks, and on opening day, Grizzly Adams, with 3 of his tame grizzlies, paraded down Broadway and up to the brewery, on the flatbed wagon preceded by the band. Though his health continued to deteriorate, he persuaded Barnum to agree to let him perform with his animals for another 10 weeks for a $500 bonus. By the time the show was done, Adams could hardly walk onto the stage. He sold his menagerie to Barnum, and from the proceeds of the show and the sale was able to provide a comfortable sum for his wife, Selena. Afterward, he retired to Neponset, Massachusetts with his wife. Just 5 days later, 48-year-old Adams died on October 25th, 1860. Upon hearing of Adams' death, Barnum was deeply grieved and paid for his tombstone. Adams was interred at the Bay Path Cemetery in Charlton, Massachusetts. An extraordinary figure who made a name for himself on the American frontier and within the grizzly bear community, showing off his menagerie from the West Coast to the East Coast. John Grizzly Adams was certainly an interesting figure on the American frontier. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, get out there and explore the American frontier. And thanks, guys.